Hey bread friends, it's me, Ellen, your crazy baker chick, back with a brand new, sort of unusual recipe, because I've done all the usual ones, I think. So today's recipe is going to be a yeasted banana bread. So it's not banana bread like you make that's like cake, that you slice and it's like dessert. This is a sandwich bread, but it has bananas in it and it is fragrant like bananas and absolutely delicious and soft and fluffy. Before we go any further, I want to make sure you know how to find the link to the recipe. If you're watching me on this video, you go to the lower left as you're looking at it, and you will probably see the word more. That's called the description of the video. So if you click on the word more or you find the description, that's where you get the actual recipe. And if there will be a blue link, a blue hyperlink, and you will get to the recipe, and the recipe will be on my website. There are no ads anywhere. In fact, I don't make money on YouTube on purpose. I could, I don't. I don't have sponsors, I don't have ads, nothing. No ads on my videos, no ads on my website, no collecting your data, nothing. I do it for fun, okay? So it'll take you to my website, and the recipes are in PDF format. That means you can view them, you can print them, or you can download them, and it doesn't cost anything at all. This is just what I do for fun. So, a yeasted banana bread recipe. So the ingredients, and I'm not giving you the amounts right now, that's what the written recipe is for. The ingredients are half and half. Now, I have this in my house all the time because this is what my husband uses in his coffee. If you don't want to buy half and half for a recipe and you happen to have full fat milk, just use that. It'll be fine. But I have found that the more fat in the dairy, the better the bread. My own personal opinion. It also has the star, obviously, is very ripe bananas. Now you're looking at you're going to use all those bananas in one loaf of bread? No. I'm probably going to use about 2/3 of this, but I just wanted to make sure I had enough because I am going to make 2 loaves of banana bread in different ways, and I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. The recipe also has vanilla extract. Now, here's where we get a little creative. We don't really want any strong flavors other than banana, but it seemed to need, when I was developing it, a little spicing up. So I put about a teaspoon or less of cinnamon, don't even taste it. And then a little pinch of nutmeg, a little pinch of ginger, a little pinch tinier, less than a pinch of cloves. I don't really like cloves. You don't have to put these in. It just somehow gives the banana bread a little more oomph, but you don't taste any of these if you just put a little. Not a teaspoon of cinnamon, I meant like a half a teaspoon. It's just a good pinch of each of these. And that's totally optional, but I just think it does something to improve the flavor. All right. It has butter. Salted is preferred, but I have unsalted here. Honestly, I haven't found it makes that big a difference with bread. And finally, the SAF Instant Yeast gold label. There's a red label and a gold label, and I have a whole video on this if you want to look for it. The gold label is for sweeter doughs. This is most definitely a sweeter dough because super ripe bananas have a lot of sugar. They get sweeter as they get ripe, you know that. Plus, there's actually sugar in the recipe, which I didn't mention, along with the bread flour, because I didn't go down the list. So obviously, there's bread flour and there's sugar in this, along with these ingredients right here. So one of the banana breads I'm going to bake, just the plain recipe, not that it's plain, but just the recipe, and I'm going to bake it on course 1 in my Zojirushi Virtuoso Plus. Whatever bread machine you have, this is a 2-pound recipe. So you would use your basic or white setting on your bread machine, and then for crust control, I would always choose medium. And then the other recipe I'm going to make on dough course, which is course 11. And at the add beep, I'm going to add milk chocolate chips. Now you could add any chocolate chips you want. I just happen to prefer milk chocolate to dark chocolate. And I am going to stick these in the freezer to help them not melt as much. It helps a little bit. They will still melt into the bread. But either way, chocolate and banana are a killer combination. When I had my very first bread machine, I came up, like we're talking in the 90s, I don't even know what kind of bread machine it was. I came across a recipe in the recipe booklet for the bread machine for chocolate macadamia bread. Well, I'm allergic to nuts, so I couldn't use the macadamia. I had this idea to use chocolate chips, and it became a staple in my house. It was unbelievably delicious. So in bread machine number 2, the one that I make on dough course and bake in the oven, I'm going to put chocolate chips into it. We're going to let you off the hook here while I'm doing all the weighing and measuring of my ingredients, and then when I'm ready to put the 2 bread pans into the bread machine, we'll get you back on camera. So my videographer husband just made me laugh as he's pressing the start button on the video. So I have filled 2 bread pans. Oh, by the way, if you haven't watched my videos before, I have 3 Zojirushi Virtuoso Plus, that's 2-pound machines, and then one little, the 1-pound Maestro. All right, and I don't recommend the 1-pound machine. Honestly, I only got it because I should convert my recipes to 1 pound, and I'm still trying to get that done. All right, so they're both identical. They both have the identical recipes. The chocolate chips are not in the one that I'm going to put chocolate chips in yet, simply because it's not time to add them until the add beep, which comes at about 39 minutes in. And I'm going to do that in the dough course one. So for bread machine number 1, and I even have them labeled, I'm going to walk over to bread machine number 1. Snapped in. Close the lid, plug it in. Never leave them plugged in. There's no reason to use electricity. They have an internal battery that remembers the clock. And that's all it needs to do. So for this one, this is the one I'm going to bake actually in the machine. So I'm gonna go down to course 1. There it is, and crust control is on medium. Okay, I'm gonna press start, and there's going to be a rest, and the rest is, I think, 27 or 28 minutes on this, plus I add another 5 minutes. I check it at about 31 minutes. That's rest plus 5 minutes of the timing it takes, so that I can see that the dough is the proper consistency. So let me set my timer. Hey Siri, set a timer for 31 minutes. So that's for Zoe.
31 minutes. Counting down.
That's for Zoe number 1, the one I'm going to bake all the way through in the machine. Now I'm going to get number 2. Ooh, sorry, that's a horrible noise. Nails on a chalkboard. I'm going to lock this one in. Locked in. Plug it in. And this one I'm going to use course 11. I use course 11, which is the dough course, almost every time I bake. I rarely bake in the machine. I just like the control I have over the dough when I take it out to form it in the loaf pan or rolls or whatever of my choice. There's nothing wrong with baking it in the machine. I just prefer to use the dough course most of the time. Now I need to press start, and now I have another timer to set. Hey Siri, set a timer for 28 minutes.
28 minutes. Counting down.
When I use dough course, the rest is 23 minutes. I don't know why it's different, but it is. The rest is 23 minutes plus the 5 minutes of kneading time makes 28 minutes. So this one will actually go off first, even though I started that one first. Doesn't matter. I'm going to be showing you the dough consistency, and showing you if I need to add a little bit of liquid or a little bit of flour to form a nice dough ball. You want your dough to be tacky when you go like this, if this is the dough, tacky but not sticky. You don't want to see pooling of dough around the paddles. That is too wet. If it's not coming together and it looks like rocks, it's too dry, you add a little bit of liquid. And when I say a little bit, I mean like a teaspoon of flour or a teaspoon of liquid at a time. So we'll be back when I show you the consistency of the dough and if I need to fix it or not. This is the number, actually this is the number 3 machine. Anyway, this is the dough course one, the one that I'm going to put the chocolate chips in, that I'm going to bake in the oven. And we're now going to check the dough to see if it's too wet or too dry. Okay, so it's just a hair too wet, not terrible. So I'm going to add maybe a teaspoon of flour, and then I'll check it again and I'll show you. I need to reiterate a statement on my machine with the white course. I made a mistake. It's 31 minutes of rest plus 5 minutes. So my timer went off and it just now started kneading. So I had to set another timer for 5 minutes. Let's check where I added the flour. It's getting there. It's just a little sticky, although I think it's going to be, sticky. But it's a very humid day. We are raining, so I'm going to add just an itty bitty bit more flour. As you can see, we have rain, and in Southern California, we need it because we just had all those fires, and there still are fires, so thank goodness that we have rain today. But when you have rain and the air has more humidity, your dough is very likely to be too wet and you'll need to add a little bit of flour, so it's not a surprise. Okay, it took about a tablespoon or about 10 grams-ish, but it won't always. Like I said, the humidity makes a huge difference. We're gonna let this one go now. No surprise, I had to add a little flour on this one too. And this is the one that's going to bake in the bread machine. Just letting you know. The ad beep just went off. So this was about a third of a bag, but like 2 good hands full or whatever. I don't always weigh these things, but there you go. It makes some noise, the clunks of the chocolate chips, but it won't hurt anything. This is just a little rising update. That's the first one. And this is the second one with the chocolate chips. This happens to be one of those recipes that doesn't rise a tremendous amount in the bread machine, but it rises when it's baking, which is, some of my recipes do that, and I really don't know why. Just a bit of a check-in. It is 2:23 p.m. and the clock says 4:07 that this will be ready. You can see that it's risen even more, and this is the one that I'm baking in the bread machine. Over here, there's only 15 minutes left till the dough course is complete, and that's what that looks like. And by the way, I had a little change of mind, and instead of baking the chocolate chip one as a loaf of bread, I'm going to make rolls and put them in pie plates, and I'll be showing you that. We're back. This was the dough course one. Obviously, it has the chocolate chips in it. My chocolate chips are really big. It probably would have been better to use smaller chocolate chips, but this is what I had, and it's not going to really matter. So I've taken, I think it said 12.42 a minute. I don't know. Anyway, I decided that I would put 8 rolls in each one of these pie plates So I divided it by 16 and I got 77, and it's approximate, so that's back on 0. And so what I'm going to do is hack it apart and make each one about 77 grams. Pretty close. There we go, 77.6. And I'm just going to kind of do this. You see what I'm doing? It's like I'm squeezing like a balloon and then tucking that in the bottom and plopping it in. So I think you're going to be bored. Oh, that's way over 77. So we're not going to make you watch me weigh every single one. Oh, close enough. I'll take that back off. All right, so we're going to turn the cameras off while I finish doing these little rolls. It's time to put these in final proof. So I'm going to put them, I think they will both fit nicely. Uh-oh. These slid. Sorry, got to fix the rolls. Okay. It kind of slid and wouldn't look as pretty. All right, let me close this. And you have two choices. If your kitchen, you feel like it's super warm, and I mean like 85 degrees, if you live in Hawaii or somewhere where it's warm, you don't really have to use your oven. My oven is new, so I do have a proof setting, which is awesome. Proof should be right at around 85 degrees. If you don't have a proof setting, this is the other way you can do it. Turn on your oven to the very lowest temperature it can go to for 1 minute and turn it off. Do not preheat. So if for example, if the lowest temperature your oven goes to is 170, turn it on to 170 because that's your lowest choice, but only for 1 minute. Set a timer. Do not walk away from the oven. You do not preheat it so it gets to 170. You just turn it on for 1 minute and then turn the oven completely off. A lot of people use just the light bulb in the oven. That uses a lot more energy and you can burn your light bulbs out. I personally would not do that. If you like that, it works. Since I have a newer oven, I have proof, which is exciting, and it does say 85 degrees. I'm going to do that. And this final rise time should be 45 minutes. As soon as I get to 45, I'm setting that timer. And now we don't have to pay attention to that. I do want you to look, though. I know he filmed it, but what size they are now and what size they grow to be. Not even so much after this final proofing time. They will grow some, but when they bake, they puff up even more because I had the experience with the bread that I made, a whole bread. We're going to walk back over to the bread machine over here, and it's still rising. Just want to show you. It's rising really beautifully. And that's the one that I'm baking in the machine without the chocolate chips. Okay, we'll keep you posted. So on the rolls, I set the timer for 45 minutes. I've got 14 minutes left, and they've risen quite a bit so far, but they're not done. And then across the kitchen, this is now baking. You can see, I don't know if you can see that it says bake. But anyway, it's baking. And look what a gorgeous, perfect loaf that's going to be. And that it has, well, let's see. It's supposed to be done at 4:07, and it is 3:21. So it has quite a while to go. We are back. The rolls have risen. Now, you know you could have baked this as a loaf. It would have been delicious. But I started thinking about, well, we're going to have one loaf coming out of the bread machine. I thought it might be fun to have a loaf or rolls instead, because it is a sweet recipe. The bananas and the sugar put together make it very sweet. I'm mixing up some egg wash here, and of course egg wash is quite simply 1 whole egg beaten with a splash of water, a tablespoon of water. I kind of just put my hand under the faucet and go pink like that. Sometimes people put a little sprinkle of salt in it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So just going to carefully, lightly, you want to be a little bit gentle with these, and always use silicone, and I'm just sort of patting the egg wash on and not really putting any pressure. I mean, you're not feeling what I'm doing, obviously, so you have to take my word for it. Even though it looks like I'm brushing, I mean, I am brushing, but I'm just have an extremely light touch. So, talked a little bit early about the differences between baking it in the machine, using dough course, where obviously if you use dough course, you can shape it any way you want. You can put it in 2 loaf pans, you can put it in 1 bigger loaf pan, you could bake it in a Pullman pan. You have a lot more forming choices. And the other thing is, when you use dough course, you can egg wash. Whereas if it's in the machine, you really can't egg wash it, because, I mean, people do maybe. I would not take the chance, because when it's fully risen, it's pretty high up. And I feel like if I egg washed, some of the egg wash could drip over the dough to the outside of the pan and down into the actual bread machine base, and it could, burn, and it could get on the mechanisms, and I would never do it. I would never egg wash anything that is baking inside the bread machine. It's just a safety thing. So I'm almost done. And just egg washing alone is plenty. It would be beautiful, because it gives it a beautiful golden sheen. But, if you want to make it a little sweeter, if you're having company and you want to give it a little crunch, you can use turbinado sugar, also known as sugar in the raw. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little on each. And you can do that. I'm only going to do it on one of them, because we're going to be the ones eating them, and we need more sugar, like we need holes in our heads. There you go. So I put sugar in the raw on one. I'm not doing it on the other. And I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees. Because I am baking 2 pans worth, I am using convection. When I'm baking only 1 pan or 1 loaf of bread, I don't generally use convection, but I find it works better if I have more than 1 pan. So I am baking them at 350 degrees convection. The oven isn't quite heated yet. It's about 100 degrees to go. So I will show you what they look like when they're almost done baking, and I will know they're done when I stick this probe thermometer in and it shows 190 to 200 degrees. You never know if your bread or rolls are done on the inside until you reach that inner temperature. You have to have an instant read thermometer. Also, the rolls or a loaf of bread will almost always get perfectly browned on the outside before they are cooked on the inside all the way through. So I will have foil sheets ready to tent over when these are nice and brown, knowing that they're not going to be done on the inside yet. I'm going to show you later what everything looks like. And on the one baking on the machine, we have 24 minutes left. Check out that gorgeous loaf. I don't want to open the lid anymore because heat escapes. I just realized I didn't tell you how long to set the timer for. So I set the timer for the rolls, there they are, for 25 minutes. They may not be done on the inside by then, but I bet they will be pretty brown, and I'll tint them with foil, but we'll see. Well, this bread machine just finished baking. I'm gonna hit cancel and unplug it. If you have a Zoe, that's what you're supposed to do, as per the instructions. Need my trusty oven. I ate lobster yesterday. I think this is why I'm doing this. There's a gorgeous loaf of bread. So I'm gonna pull it out. And I have hot pads and a cooling rack ready. Now, I never have breads not come out, and this looks like it's not like sticking to the sides. Oops, I burned myself a little bit right there. So this is another reason why I personally prefer dough course. I do not enjoy the contortion of unloading the bread, because you kind of have to, like if I do this, then I'm contorted the other way. So I kind of, if I turn it kind of upside down, it came out really nice. And then I have to have some place to put the hot. And then that's of course the holes from the paddles. When you slice the bread, they disappear. I know some people like to take out the paddles. I don't bother. I'm just gonna take a minute and run some water into this. Oh, and I'm gonna need one of those hot pads to put this on. Can you hand me a hot pad? Sorry folks, I'm just behind at the sink. I'm not used to using the machine to bake the bread, even though most people want to be able to do that. So I have put water in the bread pan over here, and right now the paddles are still in it, but as soon as the pan has cooled down enough, I will stick my fingers in there and wiggle jiggle the paddles out and then just lay them inside. It's very important to get water in there so this doesn't become cement and we can't get the paddles off. So here is the loaf of bread that baked absolutely perfectly in the bread machine. And if that is your preference to bake in the bread machine, there you go. I just used the white cycle, or if you don't have one called white, but you have one called basic, you use that, and this is a 2-pound recipe. Don't forget where I told you in the very beginning where you can find the recipe is below the video's lower left corner. Click on the description or where it says more. While you're on, we're just going to take a peek over here. I have 5 minutes and 27 minutes or 25 seconds left, less now, for the 25 minutes I set it for. We're just going to take a quick peek. Oh, you know what? I'm going to put well, we can wait a couple minutes for the foil, but it's almost brown enough that I don't want them to get too much browner. So at the end of this 5 minutes, I'm going to tent loosely, just cover with a piece of foil. You don't have to tuck it in any way, just cover it over. I will check the temperature first, but I very much doubt they will be done for another 10 minutes or so, but I will let you know. I forgot to say that we need to let this cool for a minimum of 2 hours. I usually go closer to 3 before I slice it, and then I can show you the crumb inside. Well, as it turned out, the rolls were done at exactly 25 minutes, 350 convection. They reached 200 degrees. So these are the ones that were egg washed, just regular egg wash, and these were the ones that were egg washed, but that I sprinkled the turbinado sugar on, and you can see that there's a little sparkly stuff on there. Totally optional. So we have our bread, and we have one pan of rolls, and these are the chocolate chip ones, the other pan of rolls. Now we just let them cool, and I can barely stand it because I want to eat them now. Okay, so it's only been about 10 minutes since I took these out. I'm whispering so my husband doesn't hear me, but I don't think I can stand to wait. I'm so bad. Just gonna get this out of here and see if I can. Oh, I don't want to send the plate flying, do I? See if I can do this. Just want to show you the inside. Oh, it's so soft and fluffy. Yummy. All right, well, I don't want to turn the camera around so you can see me eating, but I'm going to taste it. Oh my God, with the chocolate chips. Oh, people. This is so yummy. All right, I'm really bad. You gotta make it with the chocolate chips. All right, when this is cooled all the way, we'll slice it and you'll see the crumb on that. But oh, can you see how soft and moist that is inside? Bananas make things really moist. Yummy. All right, we've come to the end of the video, and the rolls are over there, but you've already seen them. Oh, that was luscious. And I've just sliced off one slice, and I'm gonna pull this down, and you're going to see the crumb at the same time I do. It should be perfect. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Nice and soft. The fragrance. Oh, the fragrance is just, I'm smelling the end that I got off. The fragrance is amazing because it's quite a bit of mashed banana. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, you can make a comment on YouTube. You can email me. That's on the website, and I'll put it in the description where you click, below this to see where the recipe link is. Or you can find me on, I was going to say on Amazon. And you can find me, you can tell it's been a long day. You can find me on Facebook easily on the bread machine pages, like the Zojarushi page, for example. You can just search for Ellen Walker Hoffman and find me and message me that way. I'm pretty easy to find, but I will put my email address below. And actually, that's kind of the best. Unless you want to tag me on Facebook, my email address is the best because you can send pictures or I can send you pictures, whereas on the YouTube comments, there are no pictures. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you make this recipe. If you make it, please let me know you made it and how you like it and what variations you put in. Like I did the chocolate chips. You could do chopped nuts, peanut. I would do chopped peanuts, but I'm allergic to nuts. You could do chocolate chips like I did. You could do craisins or raisins. Any of those would be extremely delicious. But this, you really could make a sandwich bread. I mean, I think your kids would probably like banana bread with peanut butter for lunch, in their lunchbox. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much.